We have a story out of Oakland, California. Now, you had a sister by the name of Nia Wilson, 18 years old, got on the BART train with her sister after coming back from a family event. Now, the story, what happened to our young sister, 18-year-old Nia Wilson, was that she was confronted by a rabid devil white supremacist.
Well, well, well. That's quite a statement, isn't it? Sort of showing his hand, isn't he? Not really pretending that he doesn't hate white people. He was a rabid devil, as in white devil, as in Quincy Wocha.
You know, gingivitis is the #1 cause of all tooth decay.
Quincy, oh yeah!
What does Quincy Orcha mean?
White devil.
Well, tell him I'm not.
I've only met you. How do I know? He said,
Let me guess. White devil, white devil?
yes, you speak what you do.
Tell him what I'm saying. I come in peace.
In Quincy Orcha, Uza, in Kosozana.
I couldn't help but notice that Quincy Orcha part. Did you just refer to me as white devil?
This how they know you.
Leave that part out from now on.
And he was a white supremacist. So I guess all the previous crimes he committed against other white people, including many violent crimes, that was just him being a confused white supremacist. A white supremacist in training. You know, attack us white people first. It's kind of like your training wheels. And then graduate to attacking blacks and becoming the true white supremacist you always intended on being. The case of Nia Wilson, this girl who was stabbed to death, is being exploited in an incredibly toxic way by all the wrong people. They're trying to turn Nia Wilson into the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. You know, the guy who got shot and killed in 1914, triggering the World War. Sorry, the Great War. The war to end all wars. I mean, that was one death, right? One assassination. But people turned it into a lot more. Here's a picture of old Archduke Franz Ferdinand right there. I mean, I might have been tempted to kill him out of sheer jealousy over that mustache. And I would gladly spend 4 years in a trench grappling with my insecurity complex about that facial hair. But Nia Wilson ain't an archduke. She ain't royalty. She's just a girl from Oakland. And that's all that I'll let her be. Now, I'll state for the record, from what I've heard, and I've researched this attack was, by all appearances, random, vicious, lethal, pointless, and it's obviously a terrible, horrible thing with no excuse. The guy who did it is an absolute disgrace to humanity. He is broken beyond repair. This is not unpredictable. He was already on parole. We already saw this coming. He is a troubled problem human being, and he will rightfully be thrown into a dungeon, if not killed. So, from that standpoint, we're all on the same page, yes? We understand? Which is why I find it amazing that there's any wiggle room here to find something to exploit in this situation. And yet they find a way.
And this white supremacist sliced her throat, just ambushed her sister. I want you to hear the account of the sister who was actually stabbed. And then the video is going to play afterwards of her father and what he's experiencing, hearing his daughter being savagely murdered by a white supremacist. But let's roll that first clip.
I feel like I didn't protect her like I was supposed to. Little sister was the most sweetest person on this earth, you know? She didn't do nothing to nobody. I didn't do nothing to nobody.
I couldn't understand what she was talking about. She told me to get here to MacArthur BART. I get here, I see all the police and ambulance, and I run up the platform and I see my youngest daughter laying up under a tarp dead, you know? I want justice for my daughter. I want justice for my daughter. Please help me get justice for my daughter. Man, I work at Highland Hospital. I see this every single day. I never imagined myself going through nothing like this. That's my baby girl laying up there. You know, I want justice for my daughter, you know.
What did the police tell you about a suspect? Did they tell you anything?
I haven't heard anything from anybody, except a few witnesses said it was some white guy in a red striped shirt who just stabbed my daughter randomly and ran off.
Man, I'm sorry to hear it. Sorry to hear
Just,
that.
This is the parents' worst nightmare. I see this, I watch this on TV. I never imagined this happening to me. Oh my God.
So you get a situation like this, you get this guy, this is horrible footage to witness. You have a woman wailing in the background, the father in disbelief. At that time, he was seeking justice. They didn't have the guy. We've caught the guy, so he's going to get justice, even though that is hardly of any great consequence. I mean, compared to the fact that he's lost his daughter. It's just awful. But what is happening here, and you'll see it, and I'll show you a bunch of cases of this, is that we have people wanting to stoke the flames of violence. So they want retributive justice, not against the guy who killed her. No, he's been dealt with. But the bloodlust extends beyond that. They view this as a white person representing the white race, attacking and slaying a beautiful young black woman. And they are trying to use that as an excuse to channel their raw, seething hatred, their own psychological fucked up anger and racism towards white people, and somehow use this as a catalyst to, quite frankly, start a race war. You killed one of ours, we're gonna kill one of yours. This type of shit has gone on in so many different contexts with so many different ethnic groups or religious groups. The problem is, blacks and whites in America should not be considered two gangs pitted against each other. That is a crazy and needlessly violent way to go. It also makes no sense, no moral sense, no intellectual sense. It's completely devoid of logic.
Now, the white supremacist, his name is John Lee Cowell. He's 27 years old. He is a career Neander thug. He was already out on parole as it is now. And that's the picture we put up of this white supremacist terrorist.
Yeah, well, he's not a terrorist because he has no political aim. He has no aim whatsoever. So again, trying to make it bigger than it is.
Now, the media was very, very slow to put up this animal's picture.
And there's just a little casual racism, calling him an animal. I mean, taken out of context, I mean, the guy is despicable on many levels, on every level. But to call him an animal after you just called him a devil, you can see that there's a hidden agenda here. You can see he was just waiting for an excuse to call a white person an animal or a devil.
Let's put up another picture. You could see him with the knife. The media didn't want to show that.
How do you think you got that picture if the media didn't want to show that? What the fuck are you talking? In fact, you know what the media didn't want to show? The media didn't want to show the black people on the BART who come in and assault and rob people on the daily. They advertised, they told the public, it is our policy to not show you who is perpetrating these crimes on BART because we are worried that people will stereotype blacks because the people that were committing those crimes were black. That's the fuck. And look, there's articles on this. This is not me speculating. They think it's noble. We're not going to show you black people committing crimes. We're not going to give you that information, educate you, let you know where the threats are coming from, because we're worried you're going to be aware of where the threats are coming from.
See, the media always protects the white supremacist.
I mean, you hear this idiocy, this delusion. What is this guy's IQ? The media protects the white supremacist? In what way is this guy being protected? Who? Point to a person. The newspapers of San Francisco? The Associated Press? The BART police? They held a press conference with this dude's picture on the big screen above it. They got the information out. They were trying to catch the guy. They did catch the guy. So where is this racist rage you have? Who is it directed towards?
They don't want to speak up for the victim. You know what the media, KTVU TV, done in their report?
No, but I know what they did. But what did they done do? Didn't do.
Let's put that picture up. They posted a picture of the victim, not even dead 24 hours, and they're trying to demonize this young girl by posting that picture in their news report.
Okay, so this is the horse shit at the bottom of it all. This is some gregarious nonsense. So let me zoom back a little bit and explain something to you. They have anger, don't know who to direct it at. He just made a loose, pointless, pathetic claim that the media is protecting the white supremacist. Just a completely nonsensical, intellectually embarrassing thing for him to say. Totally baseless. I'm humiliated on his behalf for having said that. So now they don't know who to be mad at. They hate white people. Okay? They got the inferiority complex up the wazoo. Who am I supposed to yell at? The white murderer? How about the black murderer? There's way more of those. No. Forget those. Those are water off a black duck's back. They don't give a fuck about the black murderers. You find a white murderer, perfect. That's a target for me to unload my racial hatred on. But wait a minute, we caught the guy, and he's arrested, and we're throwing the book at him, obviously. So now what are we going to do with the hatred? How do we process it? Oh, well, there was a news channel, and the news channel put a picture of the victim up, and I don't think it was the best picture of her. I don't think the angle, the lighting. Oh, no, she had a gun. Yeah, here's what KTVU did. They photoshopped a gun in her hand because they were trying to demonize her. And let's just follow this train of thought here. I assume the people at KTVU are all white, in lockstep in some sort of secretive white supremacist cult. I mean, they're all racist because of this picture. Now, the truth of the matter is far less scandalous. First of all, that's not a gun. It's a cell phone cover that's supposed to look like a gun. So when you put it up to your ear, it looks like, yeah, just like that. Number two, that is a picture from her Facebook. So when somebody dies, they need a picture of her to show the public who is the victim. They go to their social media, they chose a picture of her. Now let's also mention what we're not seeing. Every other outlet did not use this image. They used other images of her. So, okay, all of those dudes, they're not racist. But this one's racist. Now let's consider. Nia Wilson put this on her Facebook. This is an image. She wants to represent her. You don't put images on Facebook you're not filtering, you're not approving of. This was one of the main pictures featured on her Facebook. Oh, and there are others, which we'll get into. But the regressive media, along with this black racist, decided this was the angle. I have residual rage. This story is too good to pass up because it's color-coded correctly. White murderer, black victim, perfect. But fuck, they caught him, so no justice, no peace. Nah, that's not going to work because we're getting justice. But fuck whites because they used a picture that the girl had on her own fucking Facebook? Yeah, let's go with that.
This is what they're doing already to this young sister. And so what if she had a gun? I wish she had a gun that night that devil came up to her and killed her.
And so what if she had a gun? Okay, so, yeah, so what? Okay, well, I'll tell you so what. So what means she's part of thug culture. She was very thuggish, okay? Now, this is not the point. This has nothing to do with her being murdered completely unjustifiably. But the conversation's not about the murder. We're not talking about the guy that did that. He's been taken care of. If you want to talk about Nia Wilson and whether or not her holding a gun is some representation of her that is unfair, that's bullshit. She was into guns. She was into being tough, talking tough. This image is not a twisted view of her. It is her. She curates the pictures on her Facebook. Oh, you don't believe me? Oh, you're sitting back and Uncle Devin's making shit up. Oh, am I? Oh, am I? You dirty cunt. I'll show you, motherfuckers. Patreon me, bitch.
What's up? It's your man Sports Nut, a.k.a. Akintunde, a.k.a. the Negro Whisperer.
We're in good hands. We're with the Negro Whisperer. He knows his way around a Negro, trust me.
Back with another video. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people will say that you're stalking this girl's page. Why are you stalking this girl's page? But if you look at the bottom, there's a disclaimer left. Remembering Nia Wilson. We hope people who love Nia will find comfort in visiting her profile to remember and celebrate her life. Okay? So the family and the friends want to leave this page open so that people can remember this girl's life.
It's literally the first fucking photo. Look at this shit. First photo. Upper left. Back and to the left.
What a beautiful young lady she was. Okay? What a beautiful young lady she was.
Yeah, you don't have to say that. We'd all put it in her, but please, have some respect for the recently deceased.
Very beautiful young lady. There she go with the toolie, the ratchet.
Okay, let me try to translate. Obviously I'm not a gun guy because my dick is sufficiently large. But a toolie and a ratchet, I guess that's slang for holding a piece. That's slang. So what does that mean? It's a 22 caliber? I don't know. It has something to do with the little pieces of metal that they put in there and the size of the... Who knows? I'm sure one of the gun dorks is going to explain it to me. Can't wait for that.
And that don't mean nothing because she wasn't killed doing no hood shit, doing no thug shit. She didn't argue with the man. It wasn't no fussing with the guy who killed her. The guy just came up behind her and stabbed her in her neck out of nowhere.
Well, also, that is what the police say, but that's just because they saw the surveillance tape. The sister said there was no altercation. She was the only eyewitness. We have not heard what the white guy said. I doubt anything he will say is going to shed any light or make it any less egregious what he did. But usually when we see a murder, we're looking for some rationale for it. An argument, a history, a personal, any reason whatsoever. Not that it makes the murder better or justified, but just so that it's not just a complete sociopathic act of evil. But it looks like that's basically what it was.
Then on the 20th, she writes, "What the fuck is a friend in this era? Better get out of my face, the fuck out of my face with that BS. You hoes couldn't be a real friend if your life depended on it. 100. And I then seen all that shit firsthand. So don't tell me I'm wrong. You bitches don't know how to be friends. Y'all envy each other. Fuck each other niggas. Have alliances within the clique. Talk and cool with each other. Ops. And you hoes quick to tell that. One fight, all fight shit. Don't even be about shit. A bitch even put your nigga on with the next bitch. I damn near spit on a bitch. She say she my friend. Fucking around with this generation." So she was going through a lot of things, man.
So this is the woman, this is who she was, this is how she spoke. And it's interesting to see how ghetto and just caustic, the language, the grammar, all of it. It's an insight into just what an 18-year-old black person in Oakland is like today. Once again, this is just interesting, sociologically interesting. That has nothing to do with her murder. But now she has been made famous. Nia Wilson, remember her name. So why don't we learn a little bit about Nia Wilson? That is the next logical step. And it's rather troubling. Of course, they're trying to make her seem like she was a princess. She was going to take over the world and just be a superstar, whatever. I find this whole thing nauseating because, look, being murdered is not a ticket to fame. There's a lot of people who are murdered and nobody gives a shit, as I will talk about later in this video. So the question is why? Why are we highlighting this person? I get why immediate friends and family would be concerned and distraught, but there must be an appeal. There must be something to this for it to be in the news. And the reasons that there is something to this are all bad.
On May 2nd, she wrote, "Bitch, I'm finna act up this summer. No hoe shit either. I'm talking about my money is going to be up. Skin is going to be glowing. And bitch, I'm going to be stress-free." She a wild one, man. She a firecracker, man. She young, too. I don't like bitches, bruh. Exactly why I don't be around motherfuckers. Because, the fuck. So she was not, and she's a very pretty girl. Like, let's look at her. Like, she's a problem. Like, she was a problem. Nobody gonna want their man to be around this chick. Very sexy, pretty girl.
And boom, that, by the way, is the first featured pic. So in the photos tab, the first pic is her with a gun, and this is the first picture in the featured pics, and it's her with a gun pointed at the camera, holding up, what is that, a gang sign?
Very sexy. There she go with the thing again, with the toolie. Or as we call them over here, the hammer, the dog.
Yeah, she's got her hammer, the toolie. You know, I was 18 once. I hung out with 18-year-old girls. I don't remember one of them having a picture of themselves pointing a gun at a camera. That's not the world I come from. So again, totally irrelevant from her being murdered, but what the fuck is this culture about? That's how she wants the world to see her? Can you imagine this girl applying to colleges? She lives in Oakland. Maybe she could go to Berkeley, like I did. No. And can you imagine the admissions office? They're like, Nia Wilson, let's see, who is this girl? Let's find out about her. Let's do a little Google search. Oh, okay, no. No.
She got the dog on her. Very pretty young lady. Very stylish. You know, I could imagine her having enemies, having girls that didn't like her. You know, that's not out the realm of possibilities. And listen, all the cussing and all the fussing and all the shedding of emotions, that's what Facebook is for. At the end of the day, that's what Facebook is for. You know? Called Facebook. Damn, she love them guns, man.
Damn, she loved them guns, man. Look at this. Like, it's not even just me posing with a gun. It's posing pointing at a camera in the dead of night wearing a Raiders jersey. Like, this is like, she's sending a message here. But the point of this is, this one picture that one news agency used, which was the featured picture, the first picture on her Facebook, is not racist. It's not demonizing her in any way. This is common in her Facebook photos, her with a gun. They're acting like somebody doctored the photo. And, you know, the same way that Lee Harvey Oswald, some people claim, oh, that wasn't him with that photo because the light, the shadow on his mustache, that it's weird, it's different than the shadow on the ground. You know, it's a conspiracy, man. Nia Wilson was an angel. She wouldn't have a gun. Why would you portray her as somebody who owned guns? Even though she was highly into guns and put them, Nia Wilson, an independent moral agent, made the decision to put pictures of her with guns on her Facebook.
She loved them toolies, man. Just thugged out, man. That's the third picture we see of her with the ratchet. It's the third picture of her with the thing, okay?
Exactly. She's rocking the thing. The man took the words out of my mouth. Okay, so let's cut to a man who was recently sainted by the Pope of Virtue. He goes by the name of Francis, otherwise known as Francis. He is an immigrant. He is an unwelcomed immigrant in my home city of Los Angeles. He's a freckle-faced, spittle-mouthed, virtue-signaling, white guilt-riddled, self-involved pussy dunce. I believe that's accurate. He could not resist jumping in on this to save the blacks. Hey, blacks out there, you ready to be saved? Massa Francis bout to save your ass.
Nia Wilson, say her name, remember her name, and respect her name.
Nia Wilson, say her name. Well, Francis, why? Why should we say or remember her name? I mean, it is so profoundly random to think that we should memorize this victim's name. How about the Green River Killer? He killed like 70-something women. Can anybody name a single one of those victims' names? No. I mean, they were mostly white women, and it was a few years ago, but still, what's the point? Francis, the problem is you highlighting this one victim is very easy to show your bias, your racism. Because in the very same week that Nia Wilson was killed on the BART by a white man, the very same week, there were 2 white men killed by black men. Did you hear that? Should we say their names, Francis? Should we remember their names? So Francis is about to bitch about the fact that they showed a picture from Nia Wilson's Facebook and it was her with a gun. And the problem isn't that Nia Wilson had this gun and posted it to her Facebook. The problem was they showed her having this gun. So blaming the messenger. Okay, great. Well, Francis, here's an article, Francis. It's from July 23rd. Man assaulted at Pleasant Hill BART, later found dead. Suspect in custody. In a dark twist to an incident first reported here Wednesday, a 51-year-old Pittsburgh man who suffered minor injuries during an assault at Pleasant Hill BART was found dead 2 days later, apparently from infection stemming from an injury suffered in the fight. Probably less of a fight, more of a beating. County coroner's deputies identified the victim as Gerald Bisbee, 51. So basically this guy got punched in the face, fucked up his knee, had a cut on his knee and on his mouth. They arrested a 20-year-old named Abdul Bey. You think he was white? Abdul Bey? No. And later that day, he went to the hospital, said he didn't feel right. Hospital ran some tests, they released him, he died the next day. From an infection he got caused by the cuts he received in this beating. So Gerald Bisbee, Francis, why are you not making a video about Gerald Bisbee? Say his name, Francis. Gerald Bisbee. Then we have a case of a guy named Don Stevens. Don Stevens was a homeless man, a transient, they call it. That's interesting that he's a transient, whereas John Lee Cowell, the guy who killed Neil Wilson, they called him a white man. Now, he was a transient too, but they didn't say 27-year-old transient, John Lee Cowell. They said white man, John Lee Cowell. Not ex-con, not guy on parole, not homeless psycho. No, white man. But it's interesting, now we have a victim, Don Stevens, and now he's just a transient. Not a white transient, a transient. Interesting. Not racially coded here. I wonder who did this. Who did this to Don Stevens? Say his name. Surveillance video revealed that Stevens was on the station platform around 1:20 a.m. Saturday when a suspect punched Stevens on the side of his head. As he fell, Stevens' head hit the cement platform. Officers found him down on the platform. He was taken to Eden Medical Center, but later died. So the guy punched him in his head and killed him. And by the way, this was a sucker punch. Typical black move. Sucker punch a guy. They haven't caught the guy who did this, but we got pictures of him. Would you like to see? Oh, it's not national news, let alone international news. It's just a black guy killing a white guy. What's to see here? As you were. Here's the picture of him. Dreadlocks. He's between 5'8" and 5'10", medium build, shoulder-length dreadlocks in a ponytail, a scruffy beard, and wore a white t-shirt and green jacket. So he's on the loose, and by the way, no eyewitnesses have stepped up to turn this guy in. Interesting, isn't it? His picture is around, but it's hush-hush, because fuck it, all he did was kill a homeless guy, and he was a homeless white guy. I mean, does anybody care? Okay, so in lieu of the fact that the murder of Neil Wilson triggered many regressives like Anne Hathaway to declare America to be a state of emergency, of racist white men randomly killing, ignoring the fact that the murder numbers are heavily skewed in the other direction. In other words, blacks commit more crimes and more interracial crimes, which should shut these motherfuckers up once and for all, but it doesn't. It just doesn't. They don't care. They're that dumb. Let's reread her post, because turns out this week on the BART, 2 blacks killed 2 whites. So it's 2-1. So the hysteria following the Neil Wilson murder, I guess we're going to ramp that up by 2 now, because twice as many white people were murdered by twice as many blacks in the same week. So let's reread that. I'll edit for Anne Hathaway because she's not here. The murder of Don Stevens and Gerald Bisbee, may they rest in the power and peace they were denied here, is unspeakable and must not be met with silence. They are not hashtags. They were white men, and they were murdered in cold blood by black men. Black people, not including me, not including you, must take into the marrow of their privileged bones the truth that all white people fear for their lives daily in America, and have done so for generations. Black people do not have equivalents for this fear of violence. Given those givens, you must ask your black selves, how decent are you really? Not in your intent, but in your actions, in your lack of actions. Peace and prayers and justice for Don Stevens and Gerald Bisbee and the Bisbee and Stevens families. Note, the comments for this post are closed. Hashtag White Lives Matter. Hashtag anti-racist. Hashtag no excuse. Hashtag say their names. Hashtag earn the right to say the names of those 2 white men, whom you don't give a fuck about, you racist slag.
You would think that in the face of unimaginable tragedy, following these practices would be instinctive. You would think that. But, unfortunately, far too often in the United States, many in the media look for ways to dehumanize the black victims.
Wow, that's a 1-2 punch. Talking about black victims, showing me Michael Brown. Michael Brown was the perpetrator of violence. He victimized the white cop after victimizing the store owner. He's not a black victim. I'm sorry. And your little racist rant here is retarded.
Of tragedy. And it has to stop. On Thursday, protesters gathered outside the Fox affiliate KTVU, the Oakland-based news station that earlier this week covered the story by using this photo of Neil Wilson.
Oh, BET covered this. Look at that. BET up in arms that a black woman would post a picture of herself with a gun cell phone cover, and that it would be used. I mean, they're going off fumes here. It's sad. They're looking for any morsel, just like something must be racist today. Otherwise, my failed life cannot be justified, cannot be rationalized in my own mind. I need someone to blame.
In the picture, Nia appears to be holding a gun, which was later identified as a phone case.
Really? Francis, how about the other pictures? How about this picture and that picture? Is that a phone case? That Thule? That rat shit?
But regardless of whether she was holding a gun or not, the question is why KTVU chose to use this photo.
Oh, because it was the main photo on her Facebook. That's why, Francis. Francis, you fucking suck. I hate everything about you. Button your shirt up, you fucking dick. Guy's so gross. The colors on him, the moisture, the freaking shine off this dude's face. Francis, come in close here. Just bring your face closer to me. I want you to smell this. Okay, this is how, I'm sick of talking to you. Actions speak louder than words. Here's an action. How was that, Francis? How was that for you? All right, there's more where that came from, but continue.
The answer from KTVU was, it was a mistake. But as we know, history shows this is a mistake that happens all too often with black victims.
Oh, yeah, guys, we've got to portray the black victim in the best way possible. Don't show images that they curated themselves and advertised to the world on their Facebook. No, put flowers around her, glorify her, make her better than she was. Because blacks are so fragile, we can't be honest with them. You know, Trayvon Martin, I think he ran an animal shelter and was deeply involved in charities. Wasn't that Trayvon Martin? Oh, no, he wasn't. Oh, he was a rapper. Oh, his Twitter handle was No Limit Nigga? Really? Well, let's hide that. Yeah, brush that aside.
Like when, say, New York Post described Timothy Coleman as a career criminal.
He was a career criminal. Francis?
After he was ruthlessly attacked and killed by a white supremacist.
Citation needed? So what? So fucking what? It was part of the story. Again, this is the truth. He was a career criminal.
Oh, a white supremacist who was described then by the same newspaper as dapper but deadly.
So what? He was dapper but deadly. You think that's a compliment? That's how they describe Ted Bundy. Dapper but deadly. You think that's a glowing review of Ted Bundy? What a fucking dipshit. Francis, come back in. Bring your face. I believe that was a fart of color, Francis, so enjoy that one just a little bit more.
Or the descriptions of Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin in the New York Times.
Look at how this guy, do you see how it's a domino effect? We start with Nia Wilson, and now we're just off to the races. Every violation against a black ever. Francis, save them. He's like a chicken with his head cut off. Francis, what kind of fucking associations are you pulling up here? It's painful to witness.
And we know that the inverse is also true. White terrorists or mass shooters.
What? Francis, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, look at Dylan Roof. How is this headline in favor of Dylan Roof? They're looking for any little thing. So just imagine, if Dylan Roof was a career criminal and had a track record of committing crimes, do you think articles about him would mention that? Of course they would. If Dylan Roof had pictures of him with guns, do you think articles would show that? They did. They did. He did have those pictures, and they did show that. So you have no point. And by the way, another Dylan Roof sighting. Dylan Roof is brought up in 2018 for no other reason but to inflame racial tension. What about Vester Flanagan, Francis? You know the black guy the same year who shot and killed 2 white people? Or maybe it was just the one. Maybe he just killed that white woman on live TV. Yeah, what about that black guy, Francis? Why don't we bring him up just for the fuck of it? How was he covered?
Are reflexively humanized and shown in shades of grey.
God, he's so dumb. He's so dumb. Cops searching for well-dressed man in fatal Midtown stabbing. Francis, if cops are searching for a man in a stabbing, do you think it's logical for the article to accurately describe how he looks? Or to avoid that? Francis, the man was at large. So this is helpful. It's a description of who he is. What a dickhead. Francis, get your fucking face in here. I'm gonna fart on your face again.
Fucking fart for you. So good.
Oh my God, I tasted that one too. That was putrid.
Get a whiff of that. Oh, I stink.
Am I lying?
Yes, you're lying, Francis. You are cherry-picking things and are being willfully blind. I mean, you could find just as many stories with the opposite race, Francis, just as many.
Are they not often portrayed as troubled kids?
It is the outcry of a very challenged young man talking about challenges in his personal life.
Or loners who drifted off the track?
The thing you don't understand is that you anticipate, you expect other people to be as retarded as you. You expect them to virtue signal. An article writing about a situation, an event, a person. You expect the author of that article to speak in absolutes and condemn the guy in every sentence. This evil, white devil, motherfucker was horrible and evil to the core. Okay, any other details? Oh, other details about who? The evil motherfucker who is horrible and I'm against it. I hate it. I hate white supremacy. I love blacks. That guy who did the thing? Yeah, can you tell me anything about him? Well, he was tall. Oh, he was tall. Oh, so you're being positive about him? Being tall is a good thing. And you're calling him tall? Oh my God, are you even against what he did?
Please, prove me wrong if you beg to differ.
Francis, you don't need to be proven wrong. It's self-evident, Francis. You're a joke.
Faced with this history, the black community has every right to discard KTVU's apology because it's the same apology they've heard time and time again, all while the same mistakes continue to happen time and time again. And the thing is, there may well have been no malice intended, no underlying intent to make Nia out to be anything less than the bright young girl with her whole future ahead of her. But when viewed through a historical lens, and considering the fact that images of the killer, like this, have all but been ignored by the same news source.
What a stupid mother... Francis, the guy who killed Nia Wilson is not getting a free pass from the media. I mean, in his mind, these people are so lost. They're so effing clueless. He thinks that the media is filled with a bunch of white people and we have this conspiracy of like, yeah, that guy just did stab a woman in the neck for no reason, but he's one of us, so let's find good pictures of him. Find pictures that he looks good in. Think of him, let's remember him in the most positive light possible. Are you this fucking dumb? And by the way, he shows pictures of a guy wearing a grill, wearing gold in his teeth. You know what culture that comes from, Francis? Black culture. He is being a wigger right there. So when you say, why didn't they show these pictures? Because these pictures reflect badly upon him. Because he was adopting black culture. So what you just said is that black culture is bad. That's what you just said. But you're so dumb, you don't even see it. Now eat this fart.
You have to ask these questions.
Oh, this is priceless, Francis. Why didn't they show this picture? Oh my God, he's throwing up 2 middle fingers. Where have I seen this before? I feel like it's in my recent past. Let me access my brain. Tick, 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 boop, boop, boop. That's the sound of me accessing my brain. Oh right, Nia Wilson on her fucking Facebook. Why didn't the racist news station show that, Francis? I guess they're not racist after all. They didn't show this picture of the double birds from the white dude, and they didn't show this one of the double birds from the black girl. So I guess that kind of shoots your little story in the neck, Francis, doesn't it? You should issue an apology. Instead, eat another fart.
Smell it. Inhale that fucking fart.
Because here is the difference, and listen close. Those who live in a bubble, hell-bent on convincing themselves that prejudice like this doesn't exist, will look at this example and immediately deflect to cries of, not everything's about race, or why are you virtual signaling?
Well, you really shot that argument down, Francis. Conservative deflection. Francis, and for all the conservatives out there, and Trump people, and anybody who's against me politically, whatever, on the other side, but also understand I am completely in the right in everything I say and do, please listen to the greater point of what I'm about to say. He is now trying to not just be tribal when it comes to race, but be politically tribal, and say anybody who's against Francis must be on the right side of politics. What does Francis's lying and blatant confirmation bias and overt racism have to do with politics? Nothing. I am a Democrat. My whole life, I am a Democrat. I agree with the left on the policy issues of our time. I don't agree with the tone that many people on the left have. I am trying humbly to change that tone, to not be weak on things like immigration, Islam, race. You know, I'm a weird guy. I'm against racism. I'm against death cults. I'm in favor of women's rights, gay rights, and freedom of speech, and also reason and science and sanity. So that sort of separates me from billions of human beings. Francis, you don't understand anything. Not everything is about race. Of course it's not. You make it about race, Francis, because you benefit from trying to tell the world that you are the savior of black people. Oh, Francis, you're just great. You're amazing. What a Renaissance man. There is no other reason for you to have made this video. Francis, the same week, 2 white men were killed by 2 black men on the same rapid transit system, and you ignored it. But then you have the audacity to say her name, while not saying the 2 white dude names. What does that tell you about yourself? It tells you that it is something other than race, Francis. It has something to do with you. And if you're not going to listen to my words, listen to this woman's fart.
To protect themselves from asking these questions, to protect themselves from having to unlearn practices that they have become accustomed to.
Oh my God, Francis, you're trying to position yourself as a teacher. Like, oh, we need to unlearn something. You're not asking the right questions. You need to look at yourself, Francis.
Practices like accepting the smearing of black victims as just straightforward news coverage.
How is it smearing her to show an image of her that she liked and approved of and put out to the world? How? So in other words, here's what he's saying. Nia Wilson, the true Nia Wilson, there's something wrong with her. The pictures that she chose reflect badly on her. And if you were to show those pictures, you would be smearing her. And you would have a devious agenda to say Nia Wilson was horrible. This is what Francis is saying. It's his discomfort with the fact that Nia Wilson was a woman who took pictures pointing guns at the camera. Now, that's neither here nor there when you're talking about her being murdered, but it is interesting. And it's interesting that they are freaking out over a simple truth about Nia Wilson. Just like it's a simple truth that the guy he highlighted earlier was a career criminal, or that the guy they're searching for happens to be well-dressed, and they describe him as such to help in upping the chances that he is going to be captured.
But those of us who are consciously combating this kind of prejudice need to ask these questions and hold sources like KTVU accountable.
What a cunt. Fuck you, eat a fart.
Questions like that posed by Anne Hathaway, who was then inundated by an enormous amount of hate.
No, it's not hate, it's rightful condemnation. Sorry, and I can believe that you're siding with Anne Hathaway. Shut your spittle hole, Francis.
Because she dared bring up that Voldemort of the right wing, white privilege.
White privilege. Oh, Francis. Oh, say it again. Say it 3 times. Say it 3 times and then something's going to happen to you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're just going to have to wait and see.
White privilege. 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 Nia Wilson was a young woman with her life ahead of her. That's the image the news media should have been showing us from the moment her life was taken by evil.
They showed a picture from her Facebook. They showed a picture of her face. Sorry, Francis. Sorry they didn't bend over and kiss the ass of Nia Wilson to your satisfaction. I'm sure you've unearthed a radical racist conspiracy. Why don't we do a poll? Let's ask white people. Do you think Nia Wilson is a terrible bitch and should be blamed for her own murder? I mean, is that how you think white people think, Francis? And by the way, you're not white anymore. I'm taking away your white card. Everybody, any white person listening, he's not invited to our parties anymore. Or the way black people put it, he's not invited to our barbecues. Okay? Okay? Take him off the email list. Write him out of the will. You're dead to us, Francis, and you're no longer white. And now, please, smell this bitch's fart.
It's not difficult, people, but it does mean confronting some difficult truths and then being willing to change.
The more you know. Francis, thank you for that teaching moment. Oh, we need to change? We need to be more Francis? What would Francis do? Francis, are you the end goal? Holy Christ. Now, this is a long motherfucking video, and I don't give a fuck. I'm continuing, because the Young Turks got in on this. They had a panel of color. They had a panel filled with all sorts of blacks and Mexicans. I don't know what it was. Let's watch it.
Oakland, California continues to mourn the killing of Nia Wilson.
Oh, also, Don Stevens and Gerald Bisbee died too after being attacked by black people. But, yeah, it's not that important. I mean, we're not going to talk about it. Literally, we're going to ghost it. Didn't happen.
Nia was an 18-year-old African-American woman who was stabbed last Sunday night at a BART station, along with her sister, Latifah, by a white man named John Lee Cowell.
Yeah, he was a white man, guys. Oh, he was homeless. He was an ex-con. He was mentally disturbed, but just keep in mind, he was white. That's the thing. Not one of many things. He wasn't a white, homeless, psychopathic ex-con. No, he was a white man, period. That's all you need to know.
Cal is a violent felon, who was out on parole and was arrested on Monday after a day-long manhunt.
Oh, now she mentions he was a felon on parole. Okay, cool. So he wasn't just your run-of-the-mill white guy. Okay, there's more to him. Okay.
Police say they don't have evidence that the killing was racially motivated or that Cowell was a member of the white supremacist group, the Proud Boys, who happened to be holding a meeting the following day.
I don't think the Proud Boys are a white supremacist group, and also, why would you raise that up? So it's just stunning. This is like Psychology 101. They're telling you that the guy was not part of a thing. Oh, but the thing, it's a white supremacist group. Okay, so, you know that girl, Nia Wilson? There's no evidence, no evidence that Nia Wilson was part of a black supremacist group. You understand? She wasn't part of the Nation of Islam. She wasn't part of, actually, I think she might be, actually. I think her dad was Muslim. But she wasn't a Black Panther. The Black Panthers are a black supremacist group. Anyway, the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, black supremacy groups, both of them. Black supremacy. Nia wasn't associated with black supremacy groups. Do you understand? Black supremacy? Do you understand? She wasn't involved with that. No evidence of that whatsoever. Y'all follow what's happening here?
But of course, many people are making those connections between our current political climate. Many people are making those connections between our current political climate and the growing...
Bitch, you are creating the current political climate with these outlandish, baseless statements, trying to turn what this psychopath did to that woman into a racial issue. You make the climate. That's why we criticize you for doing that. You claim to be against bloodshed, or I guess in favor of unity? You don't hear that a lot, actually. You hear about diversity, multiculturalism, which are just code for less white people. The less whites, the better. You don't hear about unity. You hear me talk about unity. But what am I doing? I'm reactionary. I'm doing damage control on the inflammatory shit they are starting.
And the growing amount of white supremacist organizations and systemic racism.
Systemic systems of institutional structures. Structural institutions, I'm sorry. Oh, it's everywhere. Do you think it's institutional racism that you're not talking about the two dead white guys from the BART system this week? Is that institutional structural systems or not? But thanks for saying white supremacy again in this story. That's what we needed. That's what the climate demanded you say.
Including the Oakland mayor. In a statement, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf said that although the attacker's motivation is not yet known, the fact that his victims were both young African-American women stirs deep pain and palpable fear in all of us who acknowledge the reality that our country still suffers from a tragic and deeply racist history.
Right, and the fact that you're about 20 times more likely to have a white person die at the hands of a black person than have a black person die at the hands of a white person. Yet what does that say about not just our history? By the way, this has been going on for a long time. This is not a new trend. What does that say about our present moment? Now, I know that you guys like to dive into history to fist fuck some sort of narrative by picking and choosing whatever you want, but the present moment should be more important than the distant past, don't you think? And in the present moment, blacks kill more whites than whites kill blacks by a fucking lot. So what were you saying, Mayor? What were you saying, brown person? I don't know. I don't know how you can rationalize this.
Some things to know, of course, there have been a lot of protests, a lot of people tweeting in solidarity and posting photos of Nia using the hashtag Say Her Name and Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, White Lives Matter, Don Stevens, Gerald Bisbee, we get it, right?
The situation, though, of course, was made worse by local media, specifically KTVU, which when the...
It was made worse. Okay, so you guys, you know who's really just can't believe this? The friends and family of Nia Wilson. I mean, you want to know how sick white people are in this world? And like, I'm talking about the systemic systems of institutional, like news agency white people. Those racist motherfuckers. They took a picture from Nia Wilson's Facebook and put it in the news coverage. Can you believe that shit? I mean, seriously, this is like a modern day lynching.
When they found out that a young woman had been murdered at a BART station, of course, the photo that they ran was this, a photo of her holding what looks like a gun.
You know what photos are not being run at all? This photo of the dreadlocked black man who has not been caught, but did kill a white man this week. You know what else isn't being shown? Abdul Bey. Go type in Abdul Bey, the guy who killed another white dude on the BART. You don't see a single picture of him. We're not even talking about him. You're bitching about which picture they showed of this victim. We don't have a single picture of Gerald Bisbee or Don Stevens. Not a single picture in all of the media. I'm not so happy with the picture you chose of Don Stevens. I don't think it reflects well on him. Oh, my bad. You're not even showing or talking about Don Stevens.
But Twitter, people on Twitter and people who've been basically tweeting at KTVU and demanding an apology have said that's not a gun, it's actually a cell phone case holder.
Yeah, what about dis and what about dat?
It's unclear what it is. We can talk more about it. The National Association of Black Journalists and Bay Area Journalists Association said that this photo is basically an attempt to dismiss her humanity, silence those who view her death as a racially motivated attack.
What? How is it? Unbelievable. Dismiss her humanity. It's her picture.
Such depictions reinforce unconscious bias, particularly against people of color who are overrepresented in stories about crimes and violence.
That's fucking incredible. Overrepresented in stories about crime and violence? Wonder why. Oh my God. Okay, I need to just put this on a loop. I'm sick of saying this, but I have to. I have to push their shit in with this knowledge. Black people are overrepresented in crime and violence because black people commit way more friggin' crime, way more crime. They're way more violent than whites, as evidenced by reality. Look at the stats, you clueless putz. Now, you remember back a couple years back where if you were to just to say that, if you were to say just that, blacks commit more crimes than whites, that's a problem. It's a problem for all of us. It's a problem for them. It's a problem for me. I have to coexist with them. They are people in my country. And it's not a minor difference. They commit a ton more. If you were to say that, you would get called a racist. Like TJ, the amazing atheist, and Jacqueline Glenn called me Uncle Devin. Now, you know who thinks that's bullshit? Coleman Hughes, the undergraduate at Columbia University, who's a black dude who writes on this and writes very well, who was recently on the Waking Up podcast with Sam Harris, where he said this. Oh, I'm sorry. Sam said this first. Listen.
One of these painful ironies that the left is getting this part wrong to great consequences. It's not that, again, this is what's so toxic about this topic. To even discuss the disparity in the crime problem is controversial. Your motives are impugned to even touch this topic, and yet how could you possibly improve life for people in the black community if you weren't going to squarely focus on this disparity?
Right.
Such depictions reinforce unconscious bias, particularly against people of color who are overrepresented in stories about crimes and violence.
So how can someone with a straight face say, you know what, we got to really be sensitive about people of color because they're overrepresented in stories about crime and violence? But we shouldn't be surprised, because these are the same people that would say Muslims are overrepresented in the media when it comes to negative stories about terrorism. Well, I wonder why. I wonder why.
Like I said earlier, a lot of celebrities have come out in support of Nia Wilson and finding justice for her.
Excuse me? They came out in support of Nia Wilson. As opposed to whom? The psychotic killer of Nia Wilson? I didn't know this was a binary thing. What are my choices? I can be in support of an 18-year-old murder victim I don't know, or not be in support of her? How do you support this dead person? I mean, what a preposterous way to frame this. Hey lady, are you in support of Don Stevens, the white guy who got killed by a black guy? Because you're not posting about it. You're not saying his name.
Using the hashtag say her name and all that. Anne Hathaway took to Instagram, I believe today, and she was one of the biggest celebrities to write something that was really powerful. She said, white people, including me, including you, must take into the marrow of our privileged bones the truth that all black people fear for their lives daily in America and have done so for generations. White people do not have equivalents for this fear of violence. Given those givens, we must ask our white selves, how decent are we really? Not in our intent, but in our actions and in our lack of action. I just want to update that Cal is being charged with first-degree murder. He's not, however, being charged with a hate crime.
So we might, I don't know because I haven't talked to you guys about this off air, have some disagreement on the panel about this story, but I want to give you more context. So a great job by Hathaway and others to speak out. We asked for white NFL players to take a knee as well, so white celebrities speaking out is great, but we should also note that an overwhelming majority of the people who speak out originally were, of course, African Americans and strong leaders in the community like Nina Turner, who's also part of the TYT podcast network. And she immediately spoke out, and so did many other wonderful progressives across the country.
They're wonderful for speaking out, taking action. What the hell are these LARPing idiots talking about? They write something on social media saying, I feel bad that this woman got murdered because I'm against murder. It's a bold stance. And I think they should catch the guy that killed her. Okay, well, what about, are you not commenting on every other murder? It's only when it's this type of murder? When it's color-coded in this way? Yeah, but I'm a wonderful person. You're missing the headline.
Lots of black celebrities.
Yes.
Lots of like major black celebrities.
Yeah,
and specifically ones in Oakland, like Kalani, who's a singer in Oakland.
Well, Kalani needs a colonic because this is bullshit.
Spoke out immediately and got a lot of attention to the story. So, and the picture with Nia in it, that is definitely a cell phone case.
Dat.
Now, the parts we might, I don't know. I'll tell you my opinion. Let's just put it that way, okay? I don't know at all that it's a hate crime.
Genk, you don't know anything about anything, but yeah, of course it's not a hate crime. There's no evidence of that.
I don't think that there's necessarily any evidence of that, okay? Second of all, I don't blame KTVU as much as some others do, because it does look like a gun. And so you wish they had done more diligence to find out that it isn't?
The issue wasn't that it was or wasn't a gun. The issue was, why did they choose the image with a gun in it? Or something that looked like a gun? That's why people are upset, you loser. It's not about whether or not it was a gun. It was that they didn't choose some other image that didn't have the problematic nature of her holding a gun.
But I could understand why they thought it was a gun, because it looks like one. Okay, now it turns out again it's not. And now, but before anything else, I want you guys to have the context as to why people are so angry about those things.
Oh my God. Genk fell in love with the word context about 3 years ago. He thinks that there is this one thing. So any story, there's this thing called context. And he is the master, the gatekeeper of the context. Now, context is an amorphous, vague term that can literally mean anything. You could try to say that you think this is the context and be completely ass backwards wrong, which he always is. But he likes to think of himself as, I am the nuance king. And you're hearing the story, but you're not getting the context. So please listen, I'm about to tell you the shit you're not gonna hear.
But can we stop there right before you talk about, because like the gun thing is important.
They go out of their way, though. Also, we have to be honest about this to find those pictures, because when it's a black person, we saw this with Trayvon, we saw this with Mike Brown. Because then you have a black person who is an activist, and they realize that it took 30 scrolls to find that nasty picture, to find that picture of his pants sagging, to find that picture of the young woman looking over sexualized.
What the Christ? Wait a minute. Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown were thugs. It didn't take any, you don't have to scroll 30 times to see thug-like pictures of them. You kidding me? And by the way, the whole story about which picture they chose for Trayvon Martin was the fact that they chose an innocent-looking picture of that guy from like 5 years prior. It didn't look anything like the dude. That was the story about the dude. And the same thing happened with Michael Brown. The hell, they're trying to have it both ways. They don't even understand the history.
To find that picture of her holding up a cell phone as a gun, she was 18. And just as we can say the police don't have to come out and immediately say, because the killer was white and the victim was black, that it will be a hate crime, just that we give them space to say we don't know yet. The media cannot vilify and can't go out of their way to vilify black victims.
How did they vilify her? Notice that there's no quote in the story about Nia Wilson that in any way vilified her. They're literally just saying this picture, in other words, a picture that Nia Wilson put on her own Facebook, that's enough to smear her. So she is self-smearing. Nia Wilson's Facebook is a smear of Nia Wilson in their estimation. And yet they're not angry at Nia Wilson. No, they're pro-black. It has to be anti-white somehow, some way.
And they have to take responsibility for what that does to the system. And the history of this
disrespectful. I mean, beyond the context, Cenk,
The one and only context that Genk is the gatekeeper of. Yeah, continue.
Obviously, the details matter, and I'm not saying they don't matter. But as a news organization, you imagine if she were white.
Oh, this is some racist shit right here. Imagine if she was white. Yeah. Well, imagine if she was white, huh? Hold on, let me think. Like Dawn Stevens and Gerald Bisbee. Okay, I'm imagining it. Go ahead.
And they found a photo of her drinking a beer, or like smoking weed or whatever it is.
But if they found
No, actually it'd be worse than that. If she was white, we know what would have happened. We wouldn't be hearing about this. So they wouldn't have found a picture of the white victims with a beer or a cigarette. They wouldn't have found pictures at all because they're not covering it, because they don't care, because they don't like the story, because they can't profit off of it and inflame racial tension and spit vitriol at white people over it.
Picture of her looking to carrying a gun. I think they'd probably run it. So, but let me give the context. Hold on.
No, Genk, no, they wouldn't run it. It reminds me of Lee Harvey Oswald. Again, why is it that Lee Harvey Oswald, he nothing but a patsy, okay? The guy on the grassy knoll killed Kennedy. Harvey Oswald was just simply having a lunch break, doing nothing. And he went out to see a movie, and all of a sudden he's being accosted and attacked by racist cops. And then what does the media do? They show pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald with guns. Lee Harvey Oswald was the victim of Jack Ruby. He's an innocent, white victim. Why are you showing pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald with a gun? You could have showed this picture. Look at him. That's handsome. That reflects well on him. No, the media is racist against Lee Harvey Oswald. And they showed a picture of him with a gun because they wanted to smear him.
Hold on. No, let me give the context.
Here comes that context, baby!
The context that I'm referring to is, this is, I think, a particularly poor example of it. But they do it in every case. That's why progressives, African Americans, people who care are really upset about it.
Progressives, African Americans. Interesting. That's the coalition. The progressives and the African Americans. People who care. Where do I fit into this? Oh, okay. If you're not progressive or African American, you're probably not someone who cares. And if you are a white progressive, you better be self-loathing and you better say, fuck white people are racist. Otherwise, you're not progressive.
And I understand why they're upset about it. So when Trayvon Martin was killed, they think he might have been suspended in school. Are you kidding me?
Genk, that was not the story. That was not the headline. Trayvon Martin being suspended, who cares? He punched a dude in the face and bashed his head into the cement. That's what that case was about. And they ran a picture of him that glorified him and made him out to be some innocent angel child.
They think he might have smoked pot once. Which teenager in America hasn't smoked pot?
So what, Genk? You're cherry picking, you fat bloated fuck. Shut your hole.
Are you kidding me? When Michael Brown was killed.
Was that before or after he punched a dude in the face and went for his gun?
And they said, oh, he might have stolen a cigarello or whatever.
Yes, Gank, that's the whole reason for the story. The cops wouldn't be searching for an enormous black dude if they didn't get the call that, hey, an enormous black dude just robbed a dude of cigarellos and threatened violence against the shopkeeper. That's the whole reason that story happened. So yes, it's relevant to a news article about the story, you motherfucking idiot.
Eric Garner is killed. Oh, but he was selling loose cigarettes, which, by the way, he wasn't at the time.
That's the reason that he was being arrested, Gank. Well, he was being suspected of it, and he was being detained for questioning. But he resisted, which was the whole story. So to not mention that would be stupid, wouldn't it?
So that's the context that I'm referring to.
But those are
so
only
if
black,
you're wondering, no, because what's that?
The point is that those were only black victims. We're not separating her
No,
from
no,
black
no. I'm
men that
agreeing
they
with you
shot
guys.
Mr.
I'm agreeing with you guys.
Yes, of course they're agreeing with each other. You think there's dissent on this show? You fucking kidding me?
I want you to understand. That's what I'm saying. Because if you're not familiar with that context, you might just look at that picture and go, what are you guys getting all upset over? It looks like a gun. What's the big deal?
The context. The context. Yeah, baby.
And I hear you, it does look like a gun. But the overall context is the reason people get upset is as soon as an African American is killed, immediately the media, the police go on a witch hunt, if you will. What did they do wrong in their lives?
Right, exactly.
Why did they deserve it? And so there's a constant search for, but they have.
Oh my God, let's just stop there. Look at his face. Look at I mean, I honestly would just end my life if I looked like that. I'd just be like, okay, I'm out. This is not good. It's not working. They are making something up right now. He is materializing this intention. Oh, he's pretending to know that, oh, the reason they chose that image is because they want to blame the black woman and say that she deserved it, she had it coming because she chose this iPhone case. No, Gank, you have made that up, invented it, and expressed that stupid thought to hundreds of thousands of people in an incredibly irresponsible fashion. You are literally creating new Gavin Longs and egging everyone on to a race war. That's what he's doing. And I am on record for speaking out against it. Just watch. Stay with me, because the next time something like this happens, it's going to be ramped up. And the chances that we're going to have more bloodshed in the streets are going to be increased. I'm pushing back against it, but I've got a small, little channel. I would like to close by giving a little bit of sanity here that comes with age and wisdom. The godfather of Nia Wilson spoke at the press conference. And you know what he said? This was, by the way, before they caught the killer. So all this hysteria, all this racism, white supremacy, motherfuckers, we got these devils, these white devils. He got up onto the mic and said this.
We are, unfortunately, we have to help our own family right now. We have supported a lot of families due to community violence, but this is special. This is family. They didn't ask to get cut or stabbed. Those are baby girls. Those are our children. So we need the community, especially the African American community, to stand down right now. We don't need, I'm at fear right now. We don't know if this was racist. We don't know if it was random. We don't know what it was. But we're asking the African American community to stand down right now. Let's get this information to find out what really happened. Let's find out the right facts so then we're able to deal with this situation. If anything, please share the post, look at the pictures. Come out today. We're having a visual today at the BART station from 4 to 7. We will be passing out flyers with his picture on there. We need the community involved. We need your help. We don't need us to break down right now and act crazy, tear up our city, or do anything that's crazy right now. Our family needs prayer. We need support. We have not lost a child like this here. This was personal. This was stabbing. It wasn't a gunshot. So we just ask them, please, for the community to respect the family. Please don't put no more blood on our hands. That's not ours. We want the killer. We want justice. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. There's a lot of social media going on right now with GoFundMes. These are fake accounts. We're asking, please do not contribute unless it's directly from the family. We are the advocates. We are adamant to get stop killing our kids. If there is a GoFundMe, we will be sharing it on social media, and we'll also be giving it to the BART police so they can pass the word. Thank you so much. My name is Daryl Allen, D-A-R-Y-L-E. Last name is Allums, A-L-L-U-M-S. And we are the Stop Killing Our Kids organization of Oakland.
So what is he saying? First of all, my criticism of what he just said is, we don't need you to go act crazy and like burn shit down and right now. No, we don't need that ever, okay? But he's speaking sense to people, saying, don't even think about fucking rioting or looting or hurting white people who have nothing to do with this. We're looking for the killer, the one human being that did this. Everybody out there, you better listen to what I'm saying. You better listen to reason. Because even though I'm against guns, there's 300 million guns in America. And if you want to start a race war, it's not just going to be Korean shop owners out there with their shotties blasting you. It's going to be every white dude with a gun is going to be armed to the teeth, and we're going to turn this shit into South Africa. Is that what you want? Are you ushering in the complete destruction of our country and turning it into a nation of martial law and complete savagery on the streets? If you want rivers of blood, please attack white people indiscriminately and watch what happens. This is what we're trying to avoid. It's called civilization. It's called the pursuit of happiness. So listen to this godfather of Nia Wilson, who's speaking sense, and try to rein in your putrid, sickening racism towards white people. It's petty bullshit. We don't care and we don't want it. Move on with your life and try doing something positive instead of being a cancerous headache that the rest of us have to deal with.
Bedroom so cold, turned away on your side. Is my timing that floored? Our respect runs so dry. Yet there's still this appeal that we've kept through our lives. The love will tear us apart again. The love will tear us apart again. Exposed. Yeah, there's a taste in my mouth as desperation takes hold.